Tonight, NDC minority in parliament unite behind their spokesperson on foreign affairs, accused of lying and working against the interest of parliament in the raging $12 million Oslo Chancery building saga.
He's wasting everybody's time. I'm very disappointed in him. Now, I'm wondering how we are going to work together as a committee.
If he thinks that Honorable Okuja Toblako is becoming too hot for him, the best thing for him to do is for him to tell his leadership of his caucus that said, I cannot match Okuja Toblako. Can you change to a different committee?
This is Top Story with Evans Mensah.
And Top Story is always brought to you by Bond. It's also brought to you by Gasem Cement, the nation builder. Vodafone, the future is exciting and ready. Nationwide health insurance as well. The controversy surrounding the government intention to buy a property in Norway to serve as a Ghana mission there is taking a different turn when majority members on the Foreign Affairs Committee accusing the ranking member, Samuel Okuja Toblako, of acting in bad faith. In fact, in the last hour, we've seen that the minority themselves at the leadership level in the House have come backing and uniting, throwing your weight behind Samuel Okuja Toblako with exchanges bordering on who has the power to entertain who on the committee. The MPP members on the committee say they may review their relationship. In fact, they will review their relationship with the minority group, and they claim that they will, from henceforth, they will manage the spokesperson on foreign affairs, who is a ranking member on the committee. The relationship appears to have broken apart in the wake of this controversy surrounding the government's intention to buy the property. The allegation is that the price of the property has been inflated by as much as $8 million. Government has denied that claim. Yesterday, the president added his voice to it, waded into the controversy, also denying that claim. The Foreign Affairs Minister has been consistent in stating that no amount of money has been expended on the property yet, but that controversy has been raging the whole of this week. I want to listen to the minority. In fact, he's the chairman of that committee in Parliament, the Foreign Affairs Committee in Parliament, Frank Anodompre, who addressed a press conference today on this matter.
The minister came back to us with all the details we needed. Now, if she had a bad motive, why would she provide all those details to us? Now, on value for money, as mentioned by the vice chair, if you check our report, the report on the estimate, we said that as of now, the only amount that has been withdrawn on the 50 million is just a little beyond $5 million. Yes, and there's an explanation to that. Because the ministry, in collaboration with the committee, is paying particular attention to due diligence, value for money. And it was one of the regrets that when I when I presented a report, the minority leader had mentioned it, that ever since we contracted the loan, we seem to be slow in our disbursement attempts. It is because we want to ensure that the Ghanaian people get value for money. This point is very important. We all recognize this. Now, the 15 million and the 16.5, let me explain this and put it in context. The 16.5 was quoted by the ministry, yes. And it was an offer from the seller, which the ministry communicated saying to us. The 15 million is actually in Ghana cedis, equivalent to about $3 million. What was it meant for? It was meant to take care of some 3 missions: Gwangju, Oslo, and Mauritius. Now, they made provision for Oslo because we were seeking to establish a full-fledged mission in Oslo.
Well, that's the chairman of the committee. He was very emphatic that they will henceforth have to manage the spokesperson, the minorities, senior rep on that committee, the ranking member Samuel Kudeto Ablakwa, accusing him of working against the interests of Parliament, leaking information to the press, and bad faith. Listen.
I mean, he's wasting everybody's time, and we all get worried. What is happening to us? We are purchasing a property. I'm very disappointed in him. That we've even bought. Now I'm wondering how we are going to work together as a committee. No, because, leader, with the greatest respect, if there's an internal letter and you leak this internal letter on a social media, it's very unfortunate. Anyway, we'll try and manage him. But this is where we are. We'll manage him, but it's a difficult one because this is not the first time. You recall the ISIS matter. You recall the immigration matter. He has a penchant of twisting. He has a penchant of always running to the media first. And that we find unfortunate, especially where the reputation of sovereign states is at stake. So we'll manage him. In any case, I don't have the powers to say I won't work with him. I mean, leadership can educate you better, but we will contain him. Okay, then the question on nuisance. I'm sorry, I can't withdraw that. I still stand by that. You have to bear with me. That is my description of what I witnessed of him. He's my very good friend. We were all at the Nooks together. I was 3 years ahead of him as Nooks president. We are very good friends. But that has nothing to do with his current attitude.
So it appears the relationship between the chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee and Samuel Kudeto Ablakwa, who is a ranking member, the senior most person from the minority on that committee, is broken now, as you just heard the chairman himself confess. But it has not always been like this. Just this Monday, on the same very controversial subject, the chairman was on my program TV in the evening. And when this matter came up, it was very complimentary, actually, of Samuel Kudeto Ablakwa's behavior in this very matter with the Oslo issue.
So I advise, we had an extensive debate. Rankin earlier on has said that he wanted to go to the media. I said, well, these are foreign issues. Let's wait. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's officially write to them. And then when they respond, based on their response, we can decide to go to the media. And I must congratulate him. He was patient to that level. Then I did an official letter to the minister.
So this is Monday. He was congratulating Samuel Kudeto Ablakwa because of his patience and to wait, in essence. And this 4 days on. A lot has changed, obviously, and possibly fresh information has come to light, which has changed the relationship there. And as you can imagine, that press conference that was done today has triggered a whole storm in Parliament tonight. And the minority leadership are coming in very hard, backing Samuel Kudeto Ablakwa against the majority side on the committee. Listen to the deputy minority leader, James Klucha-Veji, speaking to my colleague, parliamentary correspondent Joseph Gakpo.
He, as the chairman of the committee, has no locus. He has no power over the ranking member. In fact, they are of equal level. Only that he is a chairman, and then the ranking member represents the minority side of the House. First of all, the membership of every committee is determined by the committee of selection. It's not determined by me. It is not determined by any member, not even the leaders alone. It is determined by the committee of selection, which is chaired by Mr. Speaker. That is one. Two, who become the ranking member of a committee is determined by the leadership of the caucus. So Honorable Kudeto Ablakwa will continue to be the ranking member of the Foreign Affairs Committee. Okay. The chairman has no power over that. If he thinks that Honorable Kudeto Ablakwa is becoming too hot for him, he cannot match him, he cannot handle him, the best thing for him to do is for him to tell his leadership of his caucus that said, I cannot match Okudzeto Ablakwa. Can you change to a different committee?
He says Mr. Ablakwa has been leaking information at the committee level on social media, which he says is unethical and is unbecoming of a member of parliament. And in fact, he says he's working in the interests, he's working against the interests of parliament.
No, that is not true. First of all, you should know that the work of the minority is to be a check on government. That is our role. We have to check government and ensure that government do the right thing. Whatever
and that includes putting out information on social media whatever
is discussed at the committee level becomes a public information. What is discussed at the committee level becomes a public information and must go out. In fact, why are we here? We want what happened in Parliament to be known to Ghanaians. So why do you want to hide information? So is he saying that this Oslo issue should not come at all? That Ghanaians should not know that the government want to stifle public funds, maybe to the interest of an individual or a group of individuals, that the Ghanaians should not know, the taxpayers should not know?
On that, he says the ranking member has been peddling lies, which an MP shouldn't do, which is even why they have problems.
What is the lies in this Oslo deal? They should prove it.
Thankfully, I've just been joined on the line by Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa himself. Also on the line with us is the head of the Parliamentary Centre, Dr. Rashid Draman. They've been working to improve parliamentary democracy across the continent. Joins us on the telephone line. We're working to see if we can get Mr. Nodompe himself on the line as well. Let me start with you, Mr. Okudzeto Ablakwa, on this. Do you accept, from what we just heard there from your chairman, that the word he used was a nuisance? He says he won't withdraw it because you've been leaking information. And although information has been provided to you, you still go ahead to peddle obvious untruths.
Thank you, Evans. Good evening to you and good evening to our distinguished listeners. Season's greetings to everybody. I must say, Evans, that I am really at a loss at the sudden turn of events. I mean, the chairman has been very congratulatory of my posture because at all material moments, every information I have come into by the virtue of the fact that I took upon myself to investigate these matters, all the way from the Norwegian publications calling this transaction unethical to other discoveries I made, I brought it to his attention. And that is the reason he agreed to sign a letter to the Foreign Ministry that they will have to appear before us again and provide further and better particulars. That we wanted an evaluation report. We wanted to understand what the terms are. How come that the discovery that I made, that apparently this property had been bought for $3.5 million only last year, August last year, and now is selling for $12.2 million to Ghana, and the Norwegian media is describing this as unethical. We agreed that the minister will have to appear before the committee. And I have been waiting. I have kept this information away from the press. I've acted in good faith. Why I had to speak on the floor of the House was that instead of our letter being responded and instead of the ministry coming to meet our committee again, which our letter demanded, our 12 December 2018 letter demanded, the foreign minister came to the floor and moved the motion.
I don't know, press says that after that time you did it, they were waiting. You guys were waiting for that response to come. And in fact, he says it did come.
Their response did not come. It did not come. And you see, after the whole Monday affair, the chairman has been on the same page with me. You see, I think that he's taking a cue from the president's posture last night. And you know that members of parliament always want to be in the good books of the president. He wants to catch the eye of the president. That can be the only, because
but Nodompe has a mind of his own, I'm sure.
I mean, that's what I thought.
It's very possible that new information has come to his attention.
Because today, you see, the chairman conducted himself in ways that was totally out of 10. In the legislature, we are, you should forget your partisanship. We are to serve as a check on the executive. I mean, Montesquieu propounded this theory of separation of powers centuries ago, and that's what we have followed. So, checks and balances. Honorable Anodombre today decided to reduce himself to a PRO of the foreign ministry, seeking to defend it. And I asked myself, what is he defending? The thing you are defending, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs says that they have walked out of it. They are no longer pursuing this transaction. Read the 17th December 2018 public statement by the Foreign Ministry. They say that upon all of the unethical issues raised by the Norwegian media and all the controversies, the minister wrote backing out of the transaction. So what is the chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee defending? Every single thing I have said about this matter has been confirmed, leading to the Foreign Ministry announcing that they are backing out of the transaction. They have walked out of the transaction. So why is the honorable chairman doing this to himself? I'm very, very sad for him. I mean, he started very well on a good note, and I would have thought that, look, we are getting plaudits, even from members of his own party. People like the Honorable Kennedy Ejapon has praised us for our vigilance. He is, as chairman of the committee, he is the leader. He stands to benefit more from increased respect, a higher image of the Foreign Affairs Committee, and he seemed to be squandering all of it by what he's doing.
He raised the concern today that, and in our conversations with you, you've raised this as well, that this Finance Ministry release of 15 million to the Foreign Affairs Committee is one of the indications that something untoward was happening. He says that amount is 15 million cedis. That really doesn't come anywhere near the cost of $12 million that was quoted for the Oslo building. And that alone even had to do also with not only Oslo, but Mauritius and other countries. And so you cannot use that as evidence to say that some amounts have already been released, an indication that there was a clear intention to spend.
My brother, you see, let's not deliberately obfuscate the issues. What did I say in Parliament on Monday? I said that we have been presented documents informing us, seeking our blessings, that government was going to purchase those properties. On those documents, you had Geneva purchasing the chancery in Geneva, $3 million. You had Tel Aviv, $4.5 million for a chancery. You have Paris, chancery, residence and relocation costs, $5.2 million. Oslo, $16.5 million. That stood out. That was an outlier. It raised eyebrows. I decided to carry out further investigations. And I told Parliament that, look, I'm seconding this motion with reservations that this transaction government wants to go into, it's not good for our country. There is no value for money. It doesn't protect the public purse. We should not pursue it. That is the matter. I mean,
but you've also referenced this finance ministry release, did you not? In my conversations with you, you have.
Yes. You know, remember that following that, the government then said, we haven't expended anything. We have not spent anything. And then I drew government's attention to communication from the finance ministry that 15.3 million cedis has been released. And if you look at the description of the what goes with the release, the document we have from Finance and Controller Accountant General, it says that establishment of missions in Oslo, Norway, Mauritius, and Guangzhou, China.
But that is 15 million cedis and has nothing to cannot have anything to do with $12 million.
Look, 15 million cedis. Government is telling us that they have not spent a penny. Haven't you heard government say that? That they have not expended a penny. And I'm saying that, look, this 15 million cedis, we need explanation. Why are we calling for a probe? If we had all the answers, we would not have been calling for a probe. You see, it's just a deliberate attempt to just obfuscate issues. You see, and it always happens when you expose them, then they look for all kinds of red herrings. It happened with the Ministry of Special Development Initiatives. It happened with the Ameri-Novation agreement they brought to Parliament. When we exposed them, then they said, the president was misled, and but it ended up being causing the dismissal of the energy minister. They are doing the same thing here, trying to obfuscate issues. If these matters that I raised had no substance, they were just mere allegations without more, as the president said last night, why have you backed out of the transaction?
Yeah. Okay.
Why have you said that you confirmed the Norwegian media publications on this matter? Read the minister's 17 December 2018 statement that the Norwegian media raised issues, and so they are backing out.
My final question.
Everything I have said about this transaction.
My final question to you. Clearly, from what we heard from Anodompre, as far as he's concerned, he working with you is almost impossible. In fact, he says he will simply have to manage you. How are you going to work with a man that you have to cooperate with and work together going forward? What's your reaction to that when he says they have to manage you?
If they would not be doing anything untoward, they will not be doing anything wrong, they will not be entering into transactions of this nature, then you have nothing to fear. You have nothing to worry about. I mean, you only start talking about managing, trying to avoid me, trying to contain me, not comfortable with me, if you are setting out to engage in wrongdoing. I mean, the Honorable Anodompre is a good friend. We go way back. We have common history with the student movement. We're all NUC's president. I have enormous respect for him. I'm really surprised at his sudden...
are you ready to work with him? He says he's going to have a challenge doing that with you.
I have no challenge. I have said that this matter is nothing personal. I have nothing against the Honorable Foreign Minister. I think she's a nice, decent woman. I have nothing against the chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee. I set out in good faith, just to protect the public purse, just to carry out my duties under Article 179. We are approving estimates. We must be scrutinous. We must be diligent. I was only doing my work professionally, carrying out my constitutional mandate. Nothing personal at all. So I am looking forward to working with everybody. Okay. And I want to thank my leadership for the vote of confidence. And I'm going to continue to discharge my duties without fear or favor, without malice, without bad faith. We are only seeking to help our country in the small way we can. That's my only motivation.
Mr. Blackwell,
nothing personal.
I'm grateful that you joined us. That's Samokuditua Blackwell. He is a ranking member on the Foreign Affairs Committee. I have Dr. Rashid Ramani with me on the line. Dr. Rashid, so this is a committee that must work in the interest of the country. And from what we've heard, at least from the chairman's point of view, this is a relationship that is going to be strenuous going forward. What's your own reading of this in terms of how it could affect the national interest as far as this committee's dealings is concerned?
Yeah, thank you very much, Evans. I think the first thing, I mean, listening to both sides, the first thing I want to say is I think they both do not have any choice. It is not for the chairman or for the majority group to say that they cannot work with Honorable Okuditua Blackwell. As explained by the Deputy Minority Leader, I think there are processes and procedures in terms of how committees are structured, particularly the leadership of committees and so on. And I think the chairman of the committee will do himself a lot of good if he rethinks the position that he holds right now. But what this speaks to is something much more deeper. It speaks to a breakdown, if you like, in the conduct or in the exercise of oversight by this committee, and then by extension by other committees of Parliament, where what we are seeing more and more is the fact that oversight is becoming like it's only the business of one side of Parliament. So the other side, be it MDC or MPP, when they are in power, is more about defending the position of government and trying to cover up, if you like. I mean, I'm using this word cautiously, because for me, what I think is that if there are doubts, and the committee, as Honorable Okudita Blackwell said, they have a mandate, they have a role, per the Constitution, per the standing orders, to provide oversight. If there are doubts, why don't they go for evidence, and then on the basis of the evidence, they make a decision as a committee, rather than seeing the chairman, saying I cannot work with this person because the person has raised questions about maybe an effort to try and protect the public purse. So for me, I think it speaks to the breakdown in terms of oversight in our legislative institution. And then the other thing that I want to say, Evans, is that I think the chairman should remember that minorities change. Today they have the numbers. They shouldn't push down things down the throat of the minority and Ghanaians. They should remember, 2016 was not very far away. I think we all knew what happened in 2016. And what we are seeing lately, I think it's not a very good reflection in terms of the kind of mandate that Ghanaians gave this government and the party in terms of how they are handling some of these issues that border on oversight. To the extent that to hear from the president saying, this is all, without any substance. What investigation has been carried out? Has a bipartisan parliamentary group carried out any investigation to inform us, as all of us Ghanaians that they represent, that there is nothing untoward and that no wrongdoing has been established? Without that, pronouncements are being made just to defend the position of government. I think that is quite unfortunate.
Dr. Dramani, I'm grateful that you joined us. Dr. Dramani is the head of the Parliamentary Centre. They work with parliamentary institutions to deepen parliamentary democracy across the continent. And there's a quick question that had been asked by the minority, which is that the government should show evidence that they've withdrawn that deal in Oslo. You put that question, Joseph, very quickly to Anodon Pre today at the press conference. What was his response?
Specifically to his vice chair of the Committee on Foreign Affairs, he says the minister has only communicated to Ghana's rep in Oslo to tell the owners of the property that the nation is no longer interested. So for now, not exactly a documentary proof that this transaction has been abrogated.
Thank you, Joseph.
But I thought you said your place was ransacked by thieves a short while ago. So how did you manage to replace all your stuff so quickly?